What if every image you consume consumes a part of you in return? In a world saturated by endless stimulation, there lies a silent force that drains the very essence of your being, and it operates unnoticed, hidden behind screens, beneath desire, and deep within the shadows of your psyche. This force is not just psychological, it is energetic, and one of its most potent conduits is pornography. This video is not about morality. It's not about shame, guilt, or repression. This is about energy, about sovereignty, about the invisible architecture of your spiritual body, and how certain choices, seemingly harmless, leak your life force like a cracked chalice spilling sacred wine. The ancient mystics spoke of vital essence, variously known as prana, chi, or Kundalini. This force animates your body, sharpens your intuition, and opens gateways to higher realms of consciousness. It is your link to the divine, and it is easily disrupted. But how? How can something as passive as watching a video cause damage on the soul level? In the esoteric traditions, especially within the Hermetic and Tantric systems, the misuse of sexual energy was never seen as trivial. It was known to unbalance the subtle bodies, cloud the mind's eye, and weaken the auric field, rendering the seeker vulnerable to lower astral forces. Pornography may seem modern, but its effects resonate with ancient truths. Today, we will pull back the veil on this hidden realm. We'll explore forgotten teachings, decode energetic consequences, and understand the real cost, not in dollars, but in vitality, clarity, and spiritual potential. In this journey, we'll uncover the ancient understanding of sexual energy and why it was considered sacred, what actually happens to your energy field when you consume explicit content, how astral entities may feed off the energy released during such moments, and most importantly, how to reclaim your power through conscious practices and awareness. If you've ever felt drained, disconnected, or subtly fractured after indulging in content like this, there's a reason. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why. To understand the hidden energetic cost of pornography, we must first return to the ancient foundations of how sexual energy was viewed, not as a taboo, but as a sacred fire. In virtually every esoteric tradition across the globe, from Taoist alchemy in the East to Hermetic magic in the West, sexual energy was considered the most potent force a human could wield. It was not something to be squandered, but rather cultivated, refined, and eventually transmuted into higher states of consciousness. The ancient Egyptians believed in a subtle energy called sikkim, often associated with divine life force. This energy was thought to rise from the base of the spine and ascend through the body's energetic centers, culminating in spiritual awakening, much like the Kundalini serpent of the Indian yogic traditions. But this energy, they warned, could be easily dispersed and wasted through uncontrolled sexual activity, especially when devoid of sacred intention. In Hermeticism, the philosophy attributed to the mysterious figure Hermes Trismegistus, there is a central teaching, as above, so below. Sexual union was never just about the body, it was a mirror of cosmic union. The alchemical marriage, the conjunctio, represented the merging of opposites, the fusion of spirit and matter, masculine and feminine, leading to divine transformation. Misuse of this energy was said to anchor the soul in denser vibrations, pulling it further away from its celestial source. Even in early Gnostic writings, carnal indulgence without awareness was seen as a trap set by the archons, forces that govern the material realm and wish to keep the soul asleep. Gnostics taught that ejaculation, when unconscious and driven by lust, was a way to deplete spiritual potential, tying the soul more deeply to the illusions of the flesh. Fast forward to Taoist sages in ancient China. These masters developed intricate systems of sexual kung fu, practices that taught how to circulate sexual energy through the microcosmic orbit, preserving the jing, essence, and refining it into shun, spirit. To them, ejaculation was not merely physical, it was the literal loss of life essence. Pornography, with its dissociation from intimacy, connection, or sacredness, would have been seen as a catastrophic leak in one's spiritual reservoir. In all these systems, the core idea remains consistent. Sexual energy is sacred, creative, and powerful, and when misused, it can lead to spiritual stagnation, psychic weakness, and energetic fragmentation. Modern culture, however, has inverted this wisdom. In an era of instant gratification and dopamine addiction, sexuality has been ripped from its sacred throne and turned into a commodity, weaponized through pixels, designed to ensnare the mind, bypass the heart, and drain the spirit. And here's the paradox. The more we indulge, the less we feel. The more we seek stimulation, the more numb we become. This is not merely psychological, it's energetic. It's as if the subtle bodies become desensitized, dulled by the overuse of a sacred instrument once meant to sing with the divine. But what is truly happening beneath the surface, within the layers of your aura, your chakras, your etheric body, when you engage with pornography? To answer that, we must explore the energetic architecture of the human being, and how certain vibrations interact with the astral realm. To understand the true cost of pornography, we must look not with physical eyes, but with the inner eye, the eye that sees energy, resonance, and frequency. Every human being is composed of more than flesh and blood. Surrounding the physical body are energetic layers, subtle fields that are intimately tied to your vitality, emotions, mental clarity, and spiritual awareness. These include the etheric body, the emotional or astral body, the mental body, and beyond. When you engage with pornography, what appears to be a harmless act on the surface actually activates a chain reaction across all these levels. Let us begin at the energetic core. Sexual energy originates in the root and sacral chakras, centers responsible for grounding, survival, passion, and creation. In a healthy system, this energy can be directed upward, feeding the heart, the throat, the third eye, and ultimately the crown. This is the path of sublimation, transforming raw desire into creativity, compassion, vision, and transcendence. But when that same energy is locked in a loop of visual stimulation and immediate release, as it is during pornography use, it becomes trapped in the lower centers. Instead of ascending, it circulates chaotically, creating what some mystics have called energy knots. These knots distort the flow of chi or prana and create congestion in the energy body, particularly in the sacral region. This leads to what esotericists refer to as energetic leakage. Imagine a powerful river being diverted into 1,000 small cracks, slowly draining its power until only a trickle remains. Over time, this weakens not only your vitality but your will, your inner fire. Now, let's go deeper to the astral implications. Pornographic content is rarely neutral. It is often produced in environments devoid of love, soul connection, or sacred intention. This creates a frequency, a vibrational signature, that is transmitted through the screen. The act of watching it is not passive, it's energetic entanglement. You are not just observing, you are tuning into a resonance. And resonance attracts. This is a law echoed across esoteric teachings, from the Hermetic principle of vibration to the Tibetan understanding of tulpa creation. When you emotionally and sexually engage with pornography, you create astral thought forms, fragments of your consciousness charged with desire and imagery. These forms do not simply dissolve. They linger in your energy field. They feed on repetition. And in some cases, they begin to feed off you. This is where the teachings become darker, yet truer. Certain esoteric traditions speak of parasitic entities, non-physical beings that dwell in lower astral planes, drawn to dense, chaotic, and unrefined energy. These entities, sometimes known as larvae or succubi, do not require physical form to survive. They feed on the leakage of life force, particularly sexual energy that is expelled without awareness. In a state of habitual pornography use, especially when paired with feelings of shame, loneliness, or emotional disconnection, the auric field becomes porous, like a net full of holes. This opens you to the influence of these astral parasites. They whisper through impulses, they amplify cravings, and they reinforce the very cycle that drains you, because your loss is their gain. This is not metaphor, it is metaphysical. And yet, perhaps the greatest tragedy is not what is taken from you, but what is never allowed to grow. Because every time sexual energy is spent unconsciously, it is diverted away from your higher development. That energy could have been used to awaken intuition, deepen meditation, strengthen your magnetic aura, or manifest divine vision. But instead, it is sacrificed to momentary illusion, burned on the altar of instant gratification. And with each repetition, the soul forgets a little more of its original power. Now that we've unveiled the initial energetic disruptions and astral entanglements caused by pornography, let us turn to the deeper and more insidious consequences. Because what begins as a private indulgence can evolve into a systemic disconnection from your true self. One of the most profound spiritual truths echoed across mystical traditions is this: where your attention goes, your life force flows. This is not poetry, this is law. In occult philosophy, attention is not passive observation, it is an act of creation. When you give your focus to anything, you are offering your energy to it. Now consider what happens when that focus is given to fragmented, synthetic representations of intimacy. Pornography presents distorted archetypes of desire, often exaggerated, violent, or emotionally hollow. The more you engage with these false images, the more your subconscious and energetic field begins to mirror them. Over time, this reshapes your inner architecture. You begin to associate connection with domination of vulnerability with weakness, pleasure with detachment. The symbolic language of your psyche is reprogrammed, replacing sacred union with mechanical repetition. And what suffers most in this process is your heart center, the energetic gateway of empathy, compassion, and spiritual intimacy. Many seekers report a growing numbness, a loss of passion, or an inability inability to truly connect with others after years of pornography use. This is not just psychological. It is spiritual erosion, the slow drying of the river that once flowed from root to crown, from passion to transcendence. But the distortion doesn't stop there, because each time you engage in this pattern, you are ritualizing disconnection. You are performing a ceremony, albeit unconsciously, that separates the lower nature from the higher self. And all rituals have consequences. In certain esoteric traditions, it is said that ritual without soul opens portals. Portals to where? To states of fragmentation, to frequencies where you are no longer sovereign over your own desire. This is why many practitioners describe the experience of compulsion, a sense that something else is in control. Not a conscious decision to seek pleasure, but a pull, a need, almost as if one is being summoned by an external force. The truth is, you are answering the call of patterns you've created and entities you've invited. But here is a deeper revelation. Sexual energy is creative energy. In Kabbalah, it is the fire of Yesod, the foundation. In Tantra, it is Kundalini Shakti, the sleeping serpent waiting to rise. In Hermeticism, it is the raw prima materia, the alchemical fuel for transformation. Pornography hijacks this energy, keeps it locked in a loop, consumed but never transmuted. You become not the alchemist, but the material, not the master, but the offering. And so, the energetic cost of pornography is not simply in what it drains, but in what it prevents you from becoming. The magician who cannot control his desire cannot wield his wand. The yogi who leaks energy cannot ascend his spine. The seeker who mistakes illusion for intimacy cannot know union with the divine. This is the hidden toll. This is the energetic debt that accumulates lifetime after lifetime, unless paid through awareness, will, and inner discipline. But know this, even the deepest grooves can be reshaped. Even the most frayed aura can be mended. What has been lost can be reclaimed. The question is, will you choose to see what lies beyond the veil of impulse? Because on the other side of compulsion is power. On the other side of repetition is revelation. And that is where we now turn, to the practices, the techniques, the real tools for breaking the cycle and restoring your inner fire. You now understand the hidden energetic cost of pornography, not just as a habit, but as a ritualized leak of your life force. The question that remains is, how do you reclaim what was lost? How do you transmute this pattern into power? The first and most crucial step is awareness without judgment. Many fall into shame, which only reinforces the same energetic spiral they are trying to escape. Shame is a low vibration, and entities that feed on compulsive behaviors often thrive in that frequency. So understand this, you are not broken. You are simply misdirecting your sacred fire. What you need is direction, not suppression. Let's begin with a simple yet profound practice from ancient yogic and tantric disciplines, the retention ritual, or what some call brahmacharya in action. This does not mean the complete avoidance of sexuality. It means the conscious direction of sexual energy toward creation, focus, and inner alignment. Begin with observation, track your urges without acting on them. Each time you feel the pull, pause. Breathe deep into your lower belly. Bring awareness to your perineum, your root center. Visualize that energy rising like steam through your spine, not being expelled. Now, here is a practice known to Taoist and Hermetic initiates alike, the microcosmic orbit.
1. Sit quietly.
2. Inhale slowly and visualize energy rising up the spine, from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. 3. Exhale and see it flow down the front of your body, from your forehead through your throat, heart, solar plexus, and back to the root. 4. Do this for 10 minutes each morning. This ancient technique circulates life force rather than leaking it. Over time, your cravings will shift. You're not losing energy, you're transforming it. Now let's speak of digital detoxification, not in the moralistic sense, but in the metaphysical. If your environment is filled with triggers, images, sounds, unconscious habits, your astral body remains tied to the very matrix you're trying to escape. So, remove bookmarks, clean browsing history, and set up physical rituals to create sacred space before bed. Burn incense, light a candle, or recite an affirmation. I reclaim my energy. I direct it to my highest purpose. These are not placebo. In esotericism, ritual creates reality. Every small act you perform with intention is like striking a tuning fork in your energy field, aligning you with higher vibrations. You may also consider keeping a sacred journal, not to track failures, but to record awakenings. Document how your dreams change, how your intuition sharpens, how your relationships evolve. Watch as you begin to see women or men not as objects, but as reflections of the divine. Another practice, sublimation through creation. Redirect that raw energy into something physical. Paint, write, build, move. Sexual energy is the creative essence. It wants wants to become form. Let it flow through your hands instead of draining through the screen. You'll feel it. The fire that once enslaved you now becomes a force of awakening. Lastly, seek silence. Pornography thrives in noise, inner and outer. When you spend time in stillness, you become the observer, not the reactor. Meditate on this phrase: I am the master of my desire. I am the alchemist of my fire. Repeat it when the compulsion arises. You are building neural pathways, yes, but more importantly, you are creating energetic sigils in your subtle body. And here's the deeper truth. When you master your sexual energy, you don't just change your behavior, you change your frequency. And those who vibrate at higher frequencies attract higher realities. This is not about denial. It's about transcendence. Not about cutting yourself off from life, but finally becoming one with it. You've now glimpsed what lies beneath the surface of what many dismiss as just a habit. You've seen that pornography is not merely a personal indulgence. It is an energetic transaction, a siphoning, a subtle spell cast through pixels and impulses, draining the sacred essence meant for higher creation. But in truth, this was never about restriction. This was about remembrance, a remembering of who you are beneath the compulsions, a remembering that your sexual energy is not shameful. It is divine fire. Fire can destroy, yes, but it can also illuminate temples, power cities, and ignite stars. When you learn to wield it instead of being consumed by it, you become something rare in this world. A magician, not a puppet. A creator, not a consumer. Let this video be more than knowledge. Let it be initiation. An initiation into a path where you are no longer enslaved by temporary gratification, but instead become a master of energy, a vessel of light, and a guardian of sacred power. If even a part of you felt the truth in what was shared, then you already know there is work to do, but it is the most noble work. Not outward achievement, but inner sovereignty. So I invite you now, start the practices. Observe yourself with compassion. Transmute your fire, and awaken the parts of you that pornography tried to put to sleep. You were never meant to live a numbed-out life. You were meant to burn brightly with awareness, clarity, and divine presence. Until next time, guard your energy, sharpen your awareness, and remember, you are the key.